Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
And breaking news, the FBI just named a person of interest in the shooting death of Charlie Kirk. Investigators have also recovered the weapon used to kill the conservative activist.
We are and will continue to work nonstop until we find the person that has committed this heinous crime.
What we've learned just minutes ago about the investigation.
And lawmakers react. You're looking at a live picture of the state legislature. In just minutes, Republicans plan to discuss actions it plans to take following a deadly Charlotte train stabbing.
And we still have just a couple of sprinkles showing up on the radar. I'll show you how much more rain is in our forecast through the rest of the day.
A lot to tell you about this noon hour. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Renee Chu.
And I'm Chris Levingood. President Donald Trump says that he will posthumously award the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Charlie Kirk. The conservative activist was killed by a single gunshot during a speaking event at Utah Valley University. Now, here's what we know so far in the investigation. This morning, investigators were spotted on a roof near the shooting, but few details have been released about what they found there. The shooter is a college-age person, and investigators say a high-powered bolt-action rifle was used to kill Kirk. Authorities are urging people to allow this investigation to play out.
We will not stand for what happened yesterday. We are exhausting every lead. We have every officer invested in this, every investigator, every local agency. The outpouring of support from the law enforcement community has been astounding. We are investing everything we have into this, and we will catch this individual.
Leaders on both sides of the political aisle have paid tribute to Kirk.
And students at NC State are also remembering Kirk. The school's chapter of Turning Point USA plans to hold a vigil tonight on campus. WRAL's Ali Caldabar shows us how some are using the Free Expression Tunnel to remember Charlie Kirk.
This morning, Charlie Kirk's death is already having an impact on students as they walk through Free Expression Tunnel here. They're seeing messages like this, R.I.P. Charlie, for Charlie, and other messages also spray painted on the ground and walls. We saw this at least 5 times throughout the tunnel. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk was shot and killed yesterday at a Utah college campus. We spoke with a student who passed through Free Expression Tunnel and saw the markings. Steven Scala says he appreciates the messages in memory of Kirk.
It makes me feel good that people acknowledge the fact that he was somebody that people, kind of respected, looked up to in that aspect, to give him those regards. So I think it's something that people are noticing and people are acknowledging and waking up.
That vigil is set for tonight at 7:30 at the Governance Chamber at Tally Student Union. Reporting at NC State, Ali Cadlabar, WRAL News.
And happening now in the WRAL Live Center, we'll show you this video now, or rather this photo of the person of interest. The FBI, the Salt Lake City field office, released this photo on X where it shows a person there. So they're calling this person a person of interest and connection with the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk. We are also just hearing more information, hearing more tributes about Charlie Kirk. We just heard from Senator Chuck Schumer after Charlie Kirk's death for the first time. You can see him addressing the situation in this video from earlier this morning, where he calls political violence an enemy of democracy. He also released a statement on X saying that the shooting was horrifying. So we'll be sure to keep you updated on any developments here in the Live Center. We know you will, Kelsey. Thank you. Gray skies linger across much of our area, but we won't see much rain out of these clouds. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. Elizabeth, hoping we can squeeze out a little sunshine later today.
I think part of the viewing area is likely to see a little bit. As a matter of fact, we're seeing some breaks in the clouds in a few places. Just a tiny bit of rain left, a little bit there, about to move into the eastern part of Edgecombe County, and then down to the south from parts of Sampson County over toward Cumberland County, mainly along and east of I-95. 65. This is just a very small pocket of a few sprinkles. We take a live look at Fayetteville, and you can definitely see plenty of cloud cover. It looks like the streets are a little bit damp, but nothing that's really going to cause you any issues. We'll keep a 20% chance in the forecast all the way into the evening, and then it looks like things should be pretty quiet for us overnight and possibly a sprinkle first thing tomorrow. But we should finally start to get out of this pattern during the day tomorrow. This is a look at our visible or high resolution satellite back across the western part of our viewing area, Chatham County, Lee County, Moore County. We're starting to see a few holes in the clouds, but a lot of this moisture is going to be pretty stubborn for us today, especially east of the triangle. I think we're going to probably struggle to clear out. Here's a live look at Sanford, though. A couple of holes in the clouds, a little bit of blue peeking through there. 70 degrees is our temperature in the triangle. Dew point is at 64. So there's a lot of moisture in the atmosphere. Temperatures will likely climb up to around 80 where we have some holes in the clouds. And again, I think that will mostly be from the triangle area west. The computer models are really wanting to clear this out, but this is a pretty stubborn air mass with a lot of moisture in it. And so it may take some time. Coming up, we'll take a look at Futurecast and talk about when we could see a better chance of sunshine, more widespread.
Happening now in the WRAL Live Center, Republican state lawmakers are discussing legislative action after that deadly stabbing that we've been telling you about that happened in Charlotte. You can see this live picture now of them speaking. We know that Senate Leader Phil Berger and House Speaker Destin Hall, who you see there, they're hosting a joint news conference right now at the state legislative building. Now, Berger wants to shut down a racial justice task force whose policies, he says, endangers North Carolinians. Hall has attacked Democratic local officials and wanted to examine Charlotte's budget and the local justice system, which he blames for this incident. So we'll be sure to keep you updated on anything else that happens here in the Live Center.
No, you will, Kelsey. Thank you. New this noon, the man charged with killing a woman and then engaging in a standoff with Durham police faced a judge. 31-year-old Christopher Whitley was in court this morning, and WRAL's Monica Casey was there. Monica, he's charged with first-degree murder in this case.
That's right, and Whitley got no bond here in court today, which is standard when a person is facing a first-degree murder charge. Now, he appeared via video from the jail for his first appearance this morning. The judge assigned him a court-appointed attorney who says Whitley has 2 children and works at Lowe's. His attorney says Whitley has lived in Wake Forest for about 4 years. Now, it was a large police presence at that apartment complex in South Durham where Whitley was taken into custody yesterday afternoon. The prosecutor in court today said Whitley has previous convictions for assault out of Texas. The victim in this case has been identified as Oriole Lowe. Police say she and Whitley are believed to have been in a relationship at the time of her death. Whitley's next court date is set for early October. Live in Durham, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
Today marks 24 years since the September 11th terror attacks. You're looking live right now at the people who are reading the names of the victims of 9/11. Nearly 3,000 people died on September 11th, 2001, when terrorists attacked 4 commercial airliners. Service members at Fort Bragg held their annual remembrance ceremony this morning to honor the memory of 9/11 victims. Speakers noted the role North Carolina soldiers played in responding to the attacks. Brigadier General Brian Babich says that response is what led him to serve in the Army.
I wanted to be with the paratroopers. I wanted to be with the best trained, and I wanted to be with those that I knew were going to be the first to respond. And that really informed my decision to ask to come here to Fort Bragg to serve.
Service members laid a wreath at the Eternal Flame, a monument built with steel from the World Trade Center. It's dedicated to those stationed at Fort Bragg and the thousands of lives lost in the attacks.
Now, Renee, in Durham, local first responders climbed the stairs at the Durham Bulls Athletic Park. Firefighters, police officers, and other first responders geared up for this morning's climb. They did it in remembrance of the nearly 350 firefighters and more than 70 officers who died that fateful day.
And it's horrible that such a tragic thing made our country come together, but it did. And so if I could, again, bring anything back, is bring back our response and our how America gelled together. And people were neighborly and friendly and helpful, and it was a team response.
Chief Zoldos participated in the stair climb today wearing a bright yellow helmet. It's the helmet he wore that day and the days after as he searched for survivors. We have a full list of 9/11 events across the area today, and you can find that on WRAL.com or the WRAL News app.
Britain Prime Minister Keir Starmer has fired the ambassador to the U.S. over his ties to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein's famous, or I should say infamous, 50th birthday book contained pictures and messages from Mandelson in which he called the convicted sex offender his best pal. A trove of emails between Mandelson and Epstein also included messages in which he offered to discuss his infamous 2008 Florida case with his political contacts.
The emails show, Mr. Speaker, that the depth and extent of Lord Mandelson's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein is materially different from that known at the time of his appointment.
And Mandelson played a critical role in negotiating the U.S.-UK trade deal in May. This all comes just days before the Prime Minister is set to welcome President Trump to the U.K. for a state visit, which will involve a banquet with King Charles.
3 former FBI higher-ups are suing FBI Director Kash Patel and U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi. The 68-page complaint claims Patel knowingly broke the law when he carried out the firings under orders from the White House. According to the lawsuit, Patel acknowledged firing agents without cause would violate internal FBI and federal law, and that he knew that he would be sued. The U.S. Labor Department plans to investigate one of its branches. The department wants to know how information is gathered and distributed. The Office of the Inspector General will study the challenges of economic data, and the review will also look at downward revisions of the Bureau's estimate on monthly job payroll growth. President Trump fired Bureau of Labor Commissioner Erica McIntyre in August after a weaker than expected jobs report.
Stocks are seeing a huge rally right now. Look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, up 570 points. S&P 500 also up about 50 points, and NASDAQ a gain of 153 points. All 3 major indices have scored new intraday trading highs. We'll see how they close out later today. Next at noon, first detained, now departing. Hundreds of South Korean workers are heading back to their home country. The deal struck to keep them out. More than 300 South Korean workers who had been detained in an immigration raid are headed home. 307 men and 10 women were rounded up at a Hyundai motor business project in Georgia last week. They were in the U.S. to ensure the building was built properly and to train Americans. NBC's Janice Mackey-Frayer reports from Seoul.
The workers were taken by bus from the detention facility to the airport. No handcuffs, no chains. That was the deal that South Korean officials made with the White House and with President Trump. This repatriation was supposed to happen yesterday. South Korean officials wanted a quick turnaround. As soon as the charter jet was on American soil, they wanted to be able to bring these workers back home. But President Trump stepped in and wanted to look at ways to keep these skilled workers in the U.S. They're building a facility, they're training Americans, and they're creating American jobs. South Korean officials say the deal is the workers will be allowed to go back to finish their work, but right now they're exhausted and they're in shock. There will be political and potential economic fallout from this. Today, South Korea's president admitted some South Korean companies may be hesitant to invest billions of dollars in the U.S. And already big companies like LG are advising their employees to limit travel to the U.S. And if they're already there, they should stay put. The image of those workers lined up like criminals has had a big impact on public perception here. One professor told me that when President Trump visits South Korea next month, he should bring a very big gift basket. Janice Mackey-Frayer, NBC News, Seoul.
Time served. A Chinese scientist who spent 3 months in jail is headed back to China. Chen Quan-han was accused of sending petri dishes containing worms to the U.S. that were not properly labeled. Her research focuses on how organisms detect light, touch, and temperature. A district judge says she did not appear to fit the category of someone trying to get dangerous material into the country. Her boyfriend faces similar charges. His case is pending.
2 teenagers are in critical condition because of a shooting at a Colorado high school, and that happened yesterday about 30 miles southwest of Denver. The shooter fired shots inside and outside the school, and deputies say the shooter was a fellow student. That person died after turning the gun on themselves. Meanwhile, a shooting at an apartment complex in Tampa, Florida, left one person dead and 5 others injured. Police found 3 people outside when they arrived just after 1 this morning. 3 other victims were later identified, and a 17-year-old was then taken to the hospital and died from his wounds.
Only on WRAL, Governor Josh Stein says you should not have to fight your own government to get money from FEMA. FEMA is releasing $12 million in reimbursement for Hurricane Helene victims. Yesterday, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said this is a part of a $322 million FEMA commitment to rebuilding after the hurricane. This happened after Senator Ted Budd held up a vote for President Trump's pick for a Homeland Security position. And he did that in protest to secure $12 million from FEMA, and it worked. Governor Stein told WRAL's documentary investigator Kristen Severance FEMA released that money because of Budd's action. Should it take that, though?
No, it shouldn't. You shouldn't have to fight your own government to do right by the people of Western North Carolina. But if that's what it takes, that's what we will do.
The grant money will cover vital infrastructure and community restoration projects in the hardest hit parts of North Carolina. Stein says FEMA still owes North Carolina about $85 million in reimbursements. WRAL is working on a new documentary to mark 1 year after Helene. It's called Helene, What We Lost, What We Found. It airs Thursday, September 25th at 7:30 on TV or wherever you stream WRAL.
You know, it feels like things are a little different this afternoon. This morning, we saw that rain, but then you got to remember, there's also some places that really needed that rain today.
Certainly, and we'll see if we'll get more. There's a slight chance of getting a little more rain. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with how abnormally dry we are.
So we take a look at what's happening in the eastern part of North Carolina, including some of our eastern and southern counties. You see the yellow shaded area. Thursday morning is when the drought monitor comes out. And so this is new information that just came out a couple of hours ago. The yellow shaded area is abnormally dry. That doesn't mean that it's technically in a drought yet, but it's kind of a warning sign, kind of a yellow light. Ooh, you know, we're about to move into drought if we don't see any more rain. Right now, parts of eastern North Carolina haven't seen any measurable rain in 3 weeks, and that is a lot for our area. We're still looking pretty good right around the triangle, but again, our far eastern and southern counties are all abnormally dry. That's not a huge change for our viewing area. Most of these counties were abnormally dry last week, but a whole lot more of eastern North Carolina is in that abnormally dry category. Of course, the rain that we've seen the last couple of days hasn't really been enough to help at all. We have a few isolated showers here starting to move into the eastern part of Edgecombe County, and then a little bit of light rain across parts of Cumberland and Sampson counties. But it's so light and patchy that it's certainly not going to be enough to help any sort of drought situation. Here's a look at Futurecast as we roll through the rest of the afternoon. There's the possibility of a few isolated showers, a lot of cloud cover. We have a very moist air mass in place, and the way the winds are blowing, it's sort of socked in here, kind of in a sort of pattern that's really hard to break. Lots of cloud cover here at RDU. That's a great shot there. You can just see how thick and dense those clouds are. 70 is our temperature at RDU, our dew point 64. We might climb up into the low 80s in maybe some of our western counties where we're starting to see the clouds break up a little bit. Right now, it's 72 in Roxborough, 69 Rocky Mount and Fayetteville, and 72 in Southern Pines. And around the triangle, same story, 69 Holly Springs and in Apex, 68 Knightdale, and 70 degrees in Raleigh. Again, where we see the clouds break up, we could see temperatures in the low 80s, but I feel like that's probably going to be mostly in our western counties. Now, it might be Durham County. We might see a little bit of sunshine late this afternoon, making for a lot of fun at Bark in the Park. It's the last one of the year, and Kat and Jazzy will be out there. So stop by and tell them hello. At 6 o'clock, 76, and at 8 o'clock, 71. So temperatures will be great. It may be fairly cloudy during the game, but I wouldn't expect to see very much rain. So good night for baseball. 84 is our normal high. Our high temperatures as we get into the weekend are likely to be in the low to mid 80s. We'll see high pressure starting to build in, and that's going to help things out for tomorrow. As we get into the day tomorrow, that should help to finally dry out our air mass. We have a better chance of some sunshine. It's a football Friday tomorrow, too. Expect partly cloudy skies late in the afternoon. Temperature at game time likely to be in the low 80s, not too bad, and then dropping into the 70s. Pretty good looking weekend for us. Saturday and Sunday, highs will be in the low to mid 80s. We should be nice and dry. Looking ahead, our next real chance for rain doesn't come until early to middle of next week. We'll take a closer look at that and how much we could see coming up.
Elizabeth, thanks. Police plans. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk was killed at an event on a college campus. Coming up at Coming up at 4, we explore the safeguards in place and the vulnerability of wide open spaces.
Plus at 5:30, the toxic truth. PFAS is contaminating farmland across the state. Why it's costing homeowners thousands of dollars.
A couple facing life-threatening illnesses says the contractor took their money but never finished the work he promised. 5 on your side's Keely Arthur explains how to protect yourself from being put in this kind of position.
This is a tough situation. The owner of this home, Bill Harris, is battling ALS. His wife, Aileen, stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. The Harrises admit they don't know how much time they have left, so they hired a contractor to freshen up their home, which has been in Bill Harris's family for 5 generations.
They give you 2 to 5 years with ALS. I'm a year and a half into it. I want it to look good before I go.
Harris says the contractor he hired collected $8,600 more than the full estimated cost of the project, then left the project unfinished with serious problems. What happened here is a good reminder that if you are having work done on your house, get a written contract with a detailed description of the work and a schedule of payments. Pay as work is finished and don't pay the full cost of the project until it's completed. And also, don't pay in cash. Tonight, we're going to hear more from the Harrises about what went wrong. And I'll tell you what happened when we started asking the contractor about all of these problems. Keely Arthur, 5 on your side.
Just a heads up, parents. PlayStation is launching a new family app for iOS and Android devices to help you manage your child's playtime. Parents can already set control features directly on a PS4 or PS5, but this new app gives them another way to set limits and keep track of what their children are playing. It also has an onboarding experience to help you set up an account for your child. Parents can also manage their spending on the PlayStation Store and customize privacy settings.
Person of interest identified. The FBI is looking for this man in connection with the deadly shooting of Charlie Kirk. The findings revealed just within the last 30 minutes.
And a somber day in history. Today marks 24 years since the 9/11 terror attacks. How people across the country and in our state are honoring the fallen. We do want to make sure that we give you a look at your winning NC Education lottery numbers.
Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Breaking news at the top of the hour, the FBI identified a person of interest in the murder of Charlie Kirk. This is a picture of the person that investigators are trying to find. 2 people were initially taken into custody. They were released overnight. Authorities are now searching for a suspect in what they are calling a targeted shooting. NBC's Morgan Chesky has the latest from Orem, Utah.
Yeah, here in Orem, Utah, authorities sharing some stunning new details in a press conference where they were finally able to start to build a bit of a timeline regarding the actions of this gunman, saying that they believed he arrived on campus here at Utah Valley University at 11:52 a.m. and that through surveillance footage, they were able to piece together whom they believe is what appears to be a college-aged male making his way through stairwells onto a roof of a building where they say at 12:20 p.m. he fired that single fatal shot that killed 31-year-old Charlie Kirk. Now, this shot was roughly about 200 yards away. They say that following that shot, the gunman then left the roof, jumped off a building, and ran into a nearby neighborhood. Now, because of nonstop investigative work, they were able to recover a high-powered bolt-action rifle in a nearby wooded area adjacent to that neighborhood. They believe that is the weapon the gunman used. They cleared that area, and they made it very clear that they don't believe this community at large is at risk because they believe this was a targeted attack at this Turning Point USA event on campus. And students here tell me that this was an event that they had known about for some time, with posters being posted and everyone well aware that Charlie Kirk was going to begin his nationwide tour right here in Orem, Utah. Meanwhile, FBI encouraging anyone with video or pictures of that scene to please share with them immediately. We'll send it back to you.
Happening now in the WRAL Live Center. Now, we just told you about how state Republican lawmakers are meeting at the state legislative building to discuss public safety in light of that deadly stabbing in Charlotte. Now, while they were there, Senator Destin Hall did make a comment about Charlie Kirk during that news conference. You're looking at that live picture, but let's let you hear what he had to say.
It's a solemn day for us. Many of the folks who work in this building actually knew Charlie Kirk, and a lot of the folks who, a lot of staff members, frankly, actually literally worked for him in the past, knew him personally, and so he was an incredible advocate for the conservative cause. And what we saw in Utah is really something that should never happen in this country.
So we'll be sure to keep you updated on any new reaction here in the WRAL Live Center.
And we are tracking the minute-by-minute developments in this national story. Read more about the person of interest, the clues state and federal authorities have identified, as well as background on Charlie Kirk's organization, Turning Point USA. Search Kirk.
People across the nation are pausing to remember the lives lost on September 11th, 2001. An American flag was unfurled early this morning at the Pentagon to mark the anniversary. The act honors the 184 souls that were lost at the Pentagon on 9/11. And President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump attended today's service at the Pentagon. The president recalled what he remembered from that day.
That terrible morning 24 years ago, time itself stood still. The laughter of school children fell silent. The rush of hour traffic came to an absolute halt. And for 2,977 innocent souls and their families, the entire world came crashing down so suddenly.
An observance ceremony was also held in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. That's where the passengers and crew of Flight 93 crashed their plane.
You're looking live right now at the Franklin County Courthouse, where the Firemen's Association gathered to honor those who sacrificed for our country. You can see the U.S. flag hanging between the two ladder trucks, and then, of course, the U.S. flag flying at half-staff there. There were also events at Carter Finley Stadium where hundreds took part in a stair climb to honor the first responders who were killed 24 years ago today. WRAL's Sean Gallagher brings us inside that event where participants learned the weight of true sacrifice.
A lot has changed in the last 24 years, and while time heals a lot, the pain of loss still remains. That's why everybody is expressing that pain today with every meaningful step here at Carter Finley Stadium.
With their rucksacks almost as filled as their hearts, hundreds came out to pay respects to the heroes of 9/11 at Carter Finley Stadium for a stair climb.
This day really shaped a whole generation of Americans.
To carry this flag today, it's here for those who have fallen. So that's what it means to me to be here today.
9/11 was one of the worst days in our history, and it was a day where heroes truly shine through.
It's a day that reinforces why Sam Solinger chose this career. In his full Western Wake Fire turnout gear for today's stair climb, thoughts heavier on his mind than the helmet he's wearing.
They were there, ground zero. They saw it, they did it, they were scared. We aren't. We get to do this with no threat to our lives. They didn't have that luxury.
Whether they were born after 9/11 or lived through it, like former Raleigh Fire Assistant Chief Ian Toms.
I feel that there's a personal attachment there. It wasn't my people, but in a way it was. They were doing exactly what I would have done.
Strapping their helmets on to climb up those 110 stories into the World Trade Center. The gravity weighing more on Solinger than the gear on his shoulders.
How I'm suffering right now, but they had to do the same thing years ago. They were absolutely the bravest men that could have possibly endured such a feat.
Sean Gallagher, WRAL News, Raleigh.
We have a full list of 9/11 events across the area today. You can find that on WRAL.com or the WRAL News app.
Retirement worry. How much do you need to save? Well, we'll explain the different accounts to make you money, where your money work for you.
And a 9-year-old prodigy who is a sophomore in high school. What's driving him to study neuroscience? Remember, you can watch WRAL News live anytime on WRAL.com or the WRAL app on your streaming device.
Looking a little brighter than it was maybe several hours ago as we're giving you a live look at Clinton this afternoon. Dealt with some rain there. In terms of when we'll see a full break in the clouds, we'll have that coming up in a bit. You're watching WRAL News, available on YouTube TV and the WRAL app on your TV or your streaming device. So when it comes to putting money away for retirement, experts recommend start saving as soon as possible.
Yes, compounding interest is a beautiful thing. The average amount Americans believe they will need to retire comfortably is more than $1 million. Jen Sullivan looks at the types of retirement accounts available and how much you should be putting away each year.
The cost of living continues to rise, and that means you'll need more money for retirement. But when should you start saving, and just how much do you need?
There's really no such thing as too early.
Samuel Taub is an investing writer for NerdWallet. Earlier this year, they conducted a survey and found 39% of Americans said not having enough saved for retirement was a financial concern. The most common types of retirement accounts are an IRA, which is controlled by you, or a 401k, which is sponsored by your employer, and many companies will match what you put in.
IRAs typically don't cost anything to open. Even contributing a small amount if you're fresh out of college and waiting tables can still make a big difference down the line.
Here's how much Fidelity Investments suggests you have in savings. By 30, you should have 1 times your salary, and it goes up by age. By 67, you should have 10 times your salary in a retirement account. But a lot depends on where you live and your lifestyle.
If you're living in a high cost of living or even medium cost of living area, that number may be north of $1 million.
Go Banking Rates recently broke down how much you need to retire wealthy. In popular retirement communities like Prescott, Arizona, you need just over $1.8 million to retire for 20 years. In Naples, Florida, you need just under that. Other ways to grow your retirement savings is investing in the market or even cryptocurrencies.
Once you get older and closer to retirement, the general consensus is that you're supposed to shift your portfolio into safer assets like a heavier bond allocation in order to preserve your money against the possibility of a downturn.
And that was Jen Sullivan reporting. Here are some general guidelines for choosing your savings strategy. If you have an employer match, contribute at least enough to your 401k to receive the full match. And once you've maximized your employer match, consider opening an IRA to take advantage of potentially more diverse investment options. Now, if you don't have an employer plan, an IRA is an excellent option for starting your retirement savings.
Not a bad idea to get a financial plan or two, just saying. Big dreams. A 9-year-old, most students are learning to read complex books. And so we're going to introduce you to a child who is already studying neuroscience.
Gray skies, stubborn clouds are sticking around another afternoon when we could finally see peaks of sun. A 9-year-old boy in Pennsylvania is already in high school and even taking a college class. His goal, to become a neurosurgeon to help children his own age. Walter Perez introduces us to the real-life Doogie Howser in the making.
Aiden Wilkins of Montgomery County looks like any other kid, but he's not. The first indication was his ability to read outdoor signs when he was 2.
I could read them when most kids at my age, at like 2, could barely even speak. And
Did anybody teach you to read at that point?
no.
You just knew how to read?
Yeah, I just grasped it so fast. Then a few years later, I got a gifted test. Turns out I was gifted.
Now, at the tender age of 9, not only is Aiden already a sophomore at Reach Cyber Charter High School, but he's also taking a neuroscience class here at Ursinus College in Collegeville. Aiden's mom, Veronica, says there is a specific reason why he chose that class.
He plans to go to medical school and eventually become a pediatric neurosurgeon.
Mainly because I always like helping people around my age. And I was always fascinated by the anatomy of the brain.
Despite that, Veronica says, in many ways, Aiden is your typical 9-year-old boy who loves video games and playing soccer. But she says guiding a young, brilliant mind is anything but typical.
I'm very grateful and thankful for the opportunity and be a part of his journey, right? It's all about him and his journey and me just supporting his journey.
And Aiden offers wise words to those of us who miss the mark of genius. He says passion and determination will take you further than intellect alone.
You can do anything, you just have to really just put the work into it.
That was Walter Perez reporting. Before Aiden goes to medical school, he'll have to attend undergrad. And for that, his top choices are Johns Hopkins and Princeton.
He's going to do amazing things, you can tell. More school-age children and adolescents are now obese than underweight. According to UNICEF, obesity exceeds underweight in all regions of the world except sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. The highest rates of obesity were recorded in some Pacific Island nations, the U.S. and the United Arab Emirates. And of course, researchers noted that children from poorer households were more likely to be overweight, likely due to unhealthy diets. All right, doing a swing over to weather right now with meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner talking about that next weather maker. Every time I see like another update on the radar, it's like there's more green out there off the coast.
Yeah, there's it's mostly off the coast. A little bit of light patchy rain, of course, was with us this morning. Just a teeny tiny bit of that left. It's not widespread. We still have that front along the coast. We had some patchy rain early, but as we get through the remainder of the day, there's just not likely to be a whole lot of it. Eventually, the low that brought us some showers last night and early this morning will continue to move off. You can see just a little bit of patchy rain starting to develop here again in some of our far eastern counties, Northampton, Halifax, and Edgecombe County, just in those eastern parts of those counties, a sprinkle or two. And then the rain that was down here, the very patchy bit of it that we saw down around Fayetteville and in parts of Sampson County is mostly dissipating. We take a live look at Durham right now. It looks like the clouds are beginning to thin. Our best chance of seeing any sunshine today is going to be from the Triangle area westward. The farther east you go, the more we're just really going to have a hard time getting rid of that very moist air that's bringing us the cloud cover. Getting ready for Bark in the Park. As I mentioned earlier, Kat and Jazzy will be there. Looks like they're getting the field ready and looks like it should stay fairly dry. Here's Futurecast. You can see Futurecast wants to really start to at least thin the clouds up from the Triangle area westward, but sometimes the models get a little bit over anxious about how much we might be able to clear. I would go worst case scenario on this and say I think anybody from Raleigh eastward is probably still going to be stuck in the clouds for most of the day today. If we do clear out a little bit late this afternoon, we'll probably see those clouds filling again and again for tomorrow morning. Notice you can see that here on Futurecast. But I feel like our best chance of sunshine in the next 48 hours is going to be Friday afternoon, and then on into the weekend, things are looking pretty good for us. We take a look at, again, what's happening. We've got that cold front sitting offshore. All of that's pulling away from us, but we just still have a lot of moisture in place here that could continue to bring us that chance of at least some cloud cover, if not rain. We look at the next 7 days total, and you can see our potential for rainfall is minimal. We talked about the fact that we're starting to see more dry conditions, especially in eastern North Carolina, so we could use some rain. Our next best chance comes Tuesday and Wednesday. Hopefully that'll bring a good soaking, especially to the coast, because they really need it. So we'll keep watching that over the weekend. NC State plays this evening at 7:30 in Wake Forest, where it's nice and clear right now. They're going to have beautiful weather for that game. And then we look ahead to UNC at home at Richmond Saturday at 3:30. Also looking great. Low humidity, nice and warm, very pleasant. We take a look at the tropics. And we do finally have another system that looks like it could develop off the coast of Africa, just a 30% chance in the next 7 days. It's been very quiet in the tropics lately because we've seen a lot of dust from the Saharan desert moving right through the area where we typically have storms developing this time of year. And that dusty air is very dry and not conducive to storms developing. Looking ahead to our weekend, looks lovely. 81 Saturday, 84 on Sunday. It looks nice and dry. And again, that next best chance of rain comes Tuesday and Wednesday of next week.
All right, thank you, Elizabeth. Solid future. From hobby to retail, how one student is building his future.
And here's a look at your winning Powerball numbers. We have 2, 24, 45, 53, 64. The Powerball is 5 and the multiplier is 2.
As we wrap up, here's a look at a few of the headlines that we're following today. Students at NC State are remembering the conservative activist Charlie Kirk. At the Free Expression Tunnel on NC State's campus, you can see "Rip Charlie" and other messages painted. The school's chapter of Turning Point USA plans to hold a vigil tonight on campus, and that'll be at 7:30 at the Governance Chamber at Tally Student Union.
Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York has rescheduled her visit to Raleigh. She was scheduled to attend a rally with the North Carolina Democratic Party on Sunday. And according to NBC, she told reporters she was postponing the event out of respect for Kirk and security issues.
The man charged with killing a woman faced a judge today. We're talking about 31-year-old Christopher Whitley, who was in court this morning. Whitley got no bond, which is standard in cases with a first-degree murder charge. This is, again, the Durham murder suspect that you're seeing on your screen. The victim in this case has been identified as Ariel Lowe, and police say that she and Whitley are believed to have been in a relationship. Whitley's next court appearance is scheduled for early October.
An Oregon man is living the dream after one of his creations hit store shelves. In 2022, the 20-year-old created a Lego village modeled after homes in the Italian Riviera. He submitted his idea to Lego, and after receiving the necessary 10,000 votes from other creators, the company approved it. The design comprised of more than 3,200 bricks that went on sale last month.
Very cool. So if you're looking for food, music, and artistry, the Nashville, Tennessee Fair is a great place to start. This year, the event features an artist who paints portraits in an hour or less. Julia Tong focuses her talents on animals instead of people, and she tries to catch the most authentic side of each animal. She says her goal at the fair is to foster a love of art in anyone who passes by.
Yeah, I'm trying to capture the most authentic side of them, and it usually ends up being a pretty goofy side. I'm lucky that for my work, I can just stare at animals the whole time.
And Tong has lived all over the U.S. and in China, too.
Could we get here for her for the North Carolina State Fair, you know? Time now for our pet of the day from the SPCA of Wake County. Asada here is a 5-year-old neutered male dog. He's got tiny little legs, full grown at 32 pounds. Asada is very gentle and has done well with other dogs and kids. He will likely paw at you when he wants your love. He will choose affection over treats any day. If you're interested in adopting Asada, contact the SPCA of Wake County.
Police plan. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk was killed at an event on a college campus in Utah. Coming up at 4 o'clock, we explore the safeguards in place and the vulnerability of open spaces.
Still a lot of clouds here in downtown Raleigh, but hoping to see peaks of sunshine in just a few hours. Maybe we'll get a gradual clearing in some spots.
That's the hope. We have some comfortable days as you're waking up in your forecast Elizabeth's been tracking. And yeah, pretty okay afternoon so far.
NBC News Daily is next on WRAL, your next local news update in 30 minutes.
And just a reminder, you can get breaking news updates anytime with the WRAL News app. Hope you have a blessed day.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.